Ah ben. Bonsoir tout le monde.
Good evening, everyone.
Bienvenue à notre
Welcome.
troisième session de
It's our
délibération budgétaire.
third budget deliberation session. Welcome.
Commence nos réunions.
As always, I start our meetings. We do gather on traditional, unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Their ancestors signed a treaty of peace and friendship with the British Crown in the 1700s. Mr. Clerk, we do have quorum tonight. There are two councillors who are absent and a third. He's about a half hour late. Councillor Steve should soon appear.
Simplement, est-ce qu'il y a des membres du conseil qui désirent déclarer?
Are there any conflicts of interest to be declared on the part of the councillors? It's the third time we discussed it. I wouldn't think so. Thank you. So, for the agenda, you have it before you. I would need a motion to approve the agenda, moved by Councillor Jacques-Claude Bettet, seconded by Boudreau. All those in favor shall say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. People in the room, if you need interpretation, there are some right there.
Translation devices, they're there. Just for folks in the crowd. C'est toujours disponible.
It's available. So, for budget deliberations, a few more documents to go through. Mr. CAO, do you want to say something about that? Thank you, Your Worship. Earlier this week, it feels like it was a while before that, we saw the operations budget with the 5-year plan, and tonight will be focused on the operations budget. So, once again, I will pass the mic to our finance director, and she will orient us in this process. Thank you. Madam Finance Director, thank you once again. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, the councillors, for discussing the 2026 budget with us tonight. First of all, I'd like to bring us back to what we were discussing the first time we met. We focused a lot on the debt ratio and the importance of future years and how to manage the debt. That's why the operations budget tonight, well, we'll see the impact of what we were discussing last time, owing to the great increase that we will see in the financial services in terms of debt repayment and the fees as they relate to our operating budget. So with our new budget this year, it's 25 million that's part of the mandate as the warrant compared to 22 million last year. It looks like we would have a surplus of 2-point-something million. That money, we could expend it many places, but the focus that we will provide tonight is on the financial services line, where we see an increase of $1.8 million this year. Do you want us to project the summary? We can start. I just wanted to sort of set the stage here. But we would expect that we'd have 2-point-something million extra, but 1.8 million will be going to service the debt. In reality, the so-called surplus that we're working with this year is $339,000, actually. That's a difference compared to 2025. I just wanted to attract your attention to that. Yes, we received an increase, and it does look promising. But we have to be focused on servicing the debt. And that will use up most of the surplus that we received this year. And the surplus is related to new construction that is happening. They're completed, basically. The new constructions, houses, that's part of what we receive in as part of our warrant. We did a study this week based on the freeze and the money that we should have received, but we're not receiving. That's it's a certain amount that we could have received if there wasn't a freeze. But given the freeze, we won't be receiving it. So that's the impact We could have a different situation. We are not. So we're working with the numbers that we have, and with that extra amount, if you will, of 2 point something million, and out of that 1.8 million will be devoted to debt servicing, and there'll be $330,000 that will be redistributed, if you will, within the operations budget. And we'll go into detail a bit more into that with the summary for the operations budget, and we'll go a bit more into detail. And I'm taking for granted that the $330,000 inflation will eat into that as well. Gas will cost more, electricity will cost more. Yeah, precisely. So all of our set fixed cost, we foreseeing an increase of 3.5%. A big part of that 330,000 will be indeed eaten up by that. Also, you might want to do a refresh. If you've received the document before, we had to modify the operating budget. We had the real amounts from the RCMP, the actual amounts for the RCMP. We have the actual amounts. So what we had done when we convened, we didn't have the actuals, there were estimates. So now we're closer to actuals than before. So if you didn't refresh it, I would invite you to refresh. Thank you, Mr. CAO. Councillor Paul Boudreau, you have a question? Before we go into details? It's good news. It's not shocking, but so with the figures you're proposing, all the decisions we took on Monday, all the deliberations we had on Monday on those major projects of the 2 million, 5 million streets, does it increase to 1.8 million in addition to pay all those projects? No, that money, it's going to, it's a capital borrowing board, actually. That's borrowed money in terms of capital costs later. The financial servicing that we're discussing, it's the repayment of that debt. All the money that we spoke to in the 5-year plan on Monday, we're paying with credit margins for now. We're looking for a long-term loan. And once we find that long-term loan, and let's say the project is done this year or the start of next year, it will be added to the financial services. It's not the full amount. If 3 million is not directly out of our operations budget, it's 3 million divided by 15 years of amortizations. Is it a trend that next year there'll be another 2 million in addition, or another 3 million to pay this debt? Yes, it does increase over the years, and that's what's affecting the debt ratio. So with 6.6%, if we didn't have 6.6 this low rate, we'd be in trouble. We have 6.6% growth rate. We're the best growth rate in any municipality in New Brunswick for 2026. But for those of you who got 1.5 to 1.8 to 2.2%, their figures aren't quite as rosy as ours. So at some level, it's a good luck that we're developing. It's a good thing that we're developing. It allows us to absorb things, absorb the freeze. But the freeze is depriving us. It removes, essentially, the $3.1 million that we could have received. That's if we maintain taxation where it was. It has an impact. $3.1 million, it's more than 10% of our budget. If you'll allow, Your Worship, what we presented at the first budget deliberation would be an increase, as already foreseen, for the former and new regions, for the fixed base rate. But last year, we presented a plan to eventually reduce the Shediac rate to arrive to the proper equalized rate. But unfortunately, this year, we're proposing no increase. We could have certainly accelerated things and seen an increase, but we don't think that right now it's the best way forward, given the as relates to the previous rate for Shediac. we're presenting a balanced budget that will still allow us to follow the 5-year plan if it is adopted, as well as follow the evolution of all the capital projects that we'll be proposing to you. So the figures that we're presenting tonight do include all of those things that we want to do for the future and prepare us for all those things. Thank you. Councilor Ronald Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. Given that our CAO is speaking about rates, there are rates that will increase. The only rates that will increase are the regions' rates of the new Shediac, outside of Shediac, that you're proposing to increase by 5 additional cents. I have serious problems with increasing taxes for some citizens and not increasing them for the others. The government of New Brunswick put in a law where municipalities should freeze taxes, assessments. We can have a debate on that. What did they really mean by that? The electoral promises of politicians, that the bill that you received last year should be the same bill. There are some citizens for whom it will be true, and citizens outside of the former limits of Shediac, the so-called new Shediac, it won't be true. I find that we're not treating citizens in the same way, and I will have serious problems voting for an increase for some residents, whereas other residents won't be having an increase. So I'm just putting that on the table. It's an issue of $300,000 for the outside residents. So I think that if we want to do a little bit of mathematical gymnastics, we can certainly find $300,000 in a $25 million budget. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Cormier. Okay, Madam Finance Director, we will continue. If you look at document 2.1, the summary of the operations budget, I will just do an overview of the document. We'll have the opportunity to go further into detail in the next documents. Just to bring attract your attention to the changes since last year. So as you see, the warrant is indicated, an increase of 10% for the warrant with the changes that we propose, and a marked increase with the economic development. I just want to mention that we've added the industrial park to that data. That's why there's an increase. And the reduction to the recreation tourism budget, these are adjustments as well. It is based on last year. Last year, there could have been a grant of $70,000 that won't be requested this year. So the $70,000 adjustment, it leads to that revised amount. That's why it looks like a reduction. In terms of any other significant things in terms of expenses, in terms of the overview, we're really based on transportation. There's an increase of 10%. These are fees that we expect to have to increase. With fixed costs, electricity and all that. There's the operations center planning a budget for an additional $20,000 additional to replace the floor in the operations center. The biggest part of this is financial services. The increase, we'd go from 1.7 million to 3.5 million, given the repayment of the debentures. This year, we also increased the budget for the interest that we will pay on credit margins to support capital projects. And that's so we can answer questions now, and we can go into further detail in the next pages. Councilor Jean Cormier, thank you, Worship. So the revenue aspect, when you look at 2025, 2026, there's 781,000, and it goes down to 50,000. I should have explained that one. Those are surpluses from 2 years ago. In 2025, the the surplus that you had in 2023. In 2026, it was a surplus of 2024. Thank you. Pardon me about that. The reason that the explanation for that is that in 2023, we put no money into reserves at the end of the fiscal year. So instead of having it in the bank and available to seek it out in 2024, anytime, we hadn't done that. So it tied up that money so that it can reappear in 2025. It was there, but we couldn't access it. That's all. It's unusual that we wouldn't make a deposit. These are things that we would do in December when we can see what's remaining in the account. If there's enough to make a deposit, we'll do it at that point. Thank you. It's a bit unusual, but that's when there was a lot of changes in staff as well. Councilor Ronald Cormier, thank you, Your Worship. Human resources, you mentioned it was the addition of the industrial park. Is economic development, actually. Well, I'll ask the question. Administration, HR, there is an increase of about 25%, $600,000 more. We'll present that in detail later. Councilor Middle Brian. Thank you, Your Worship. Related to police services, 2.8 million and then 3 million for next year. Does that also include Skudok Shediak? It's not just Shediak, it's an entire territory, right? So fire protection, 900,000, what does that include? Is that salaries? Those are expenses for the full service, expenses, honorariums to firemen, clothing, maintenance of the trucks and the fire hall. It includes the MO as well and all of the planning. If I'm not mistaken, within the police services and fire protection, it also includes bylaw enforcement. Yes, and animal control falls under that as well. So let's continue with the details. So if you want to go to 2.2, it's a lot more information. It's revenue. And in terms of revenue, as I was saying, I probably won't spend too much time on this. In the first section, second section, local government, 1.3.1.9 is industrial park. We've added the 230,000 in revenue for the industrial park in that section. There was zero before, and it's quite striking, that one. And in terms of some significant reductions, you can look at the recreation. If you look at the parks and playgrounds, it goes from there was a grant in 2025, but there isn't one in 2026. So that's what affected that revenue. It basically comes back to its regular amount. It's what we should see, what we would typically see. And if you continue, licenses and permits on the under construction, including RSC, it goes from 300,000 to 200,000. This is due to a foreseen reduction in terms of building permits. We expect that building permits will be not as numerous next year. That's how we've foreseen that. In the section called Other Revenue Own Sources, sorry, the winter section, Contributions and Others, that's a little reduction, but it's circular materials with the commission. It's recycling. So that's an amount that we receive based on a rate based on number of residents, and that fluctuates somewhat over time. I think that there'll be a correction of 14,000 to that figure. I think that will end up a little higher than this year, but that needs to be confirmed. The province needs to confirm with the right figure before we have that figure. So those are the numbers we're working with, but I do believe that we'll end up at the same number. Councillor Paul Boudreau, you mentioned 116,000 to 59,000 that we won't have money from the province. Why is that? No, that was the budget, the 2025 budget. This year we didn't request it. For 2026, we didn't request it. There are requests that we made specific to certain initiatives. So why wasn't it asked? It was requested, but we didn't receive it. And I might specify, typically, we shouldn't have included it last year, that we're applying for a grant as if it's a fait accompli, because it's never guaranteed, whether it be the province or the federal or any funder that says yes, and it becomes revenue that can counter an expense. In fact, we shouldn't have included that amount last year. We're just bringing it to the actual amount. If we were to receive grants, it's just supplemental revenue to help to reduce the expense. Thank you. And finally, under transfers of own funds and allocations, that's the amount that Madam Councillor was asking. It goes from 791,000 to 51,000. That's a reduction there. And you end up with a revenue of $2,043,000. To that is added equalization of 73,846. That's the amount given by the province to balance all the budgets of the municipal budgets. The new warrant will also add to that, and the revenue foreseen for net zero. There's a other government transfer section that's not in this list. It's in another section of the budget. It comes out of the top because you'll see at the end, but it's 363,000. This is what the net zero project will bring to us, and there'll be expenses. It's a $451,000 project. It's all a question of assigning the part of the town. It's 30,000, and the rest is CACOA and National Research Council. So that will be part of our budget. It ends up at 27 million. Around 27 million. Are there questions on revenue?
Oh, no, excuse me.
Councillor Paul Boudreau? No, sorry.
No? Okay.
No?
Tu veux juste nous tester, là.
You're just testing us, I think.
Parfait. Prochain, les dépenses.
So next, expenses. Shall we go to the expenses? This is a longer list. This will take a bit more time. And I'll do an overview, but if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask them. And we're identifying the biggest difference in the amounts. I can start with the legislative services. The other section, other legislative costs, we're going from 45,000 to 70,000. That increase is due to the upcoming election in May. It'd be orientation and training expenditures for new councillors when the time comes. The second one, the next line, manager, administrator, personnel. You see that in this administration, it goes from 1,077,000 to 1.27 million. This is due to increases in salary and the new positions that are foreseen. There are new positions foreseen, and also positions that were hired within the last year that are just a few months over the year. So next year's budget, they're foreseen for 12 months. And after that, Councillor Paul Boudreau, the question for 2.1, 2.1.3, you have precisely the same number. Next year is election year, transitional year. Decision that we made not to but to add 3 members, to remove 3 members, are there calculations that will change? That's why it's the same thing. It's why it's not exactly the same. I foresaw 3% increase, 9 people as of May. So it looks like it wasn't taken into account, but I have five months with the full council, and I have 7 months with 3 people fewer, and with 3% increase as well. So when I removed the 3 people, it just replaced the 3% of those people. And I know that the objective in cutting number of members of council was not financial, was for financial reasons, but there could be benefits. It will be more felt next year rather than any other year. Not next year, sorry, in 2027, because we'll have had the full year with a reduced number of councillors. We would be 12 for 5 months, and then we'd be 9 councillors for the rest of the year. Councillor Ronald Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. 21211. The first line. Yes, well, not the first line. It's in the first in the section. We're going from 1,077,000 to 200,000 extra. Is this the 2 additional people that you're suggesting that we put in the budget? Is that what it is? That's 1 additional person plus the cost of living increase plus the full salaries of the other people hired this year. Myself, as finance director, it's a question of adjusting those salaries next year. But it's just one of the proposed positions. And the other officer, when you do an increase to the cost of living, it's based on what is in the collective agreement. It's going to happen whatever we do, irrespective. Yeah, that is set. But a cost of 20% more. 1 employee that's 20% more would naturally the benefits of new employees. Before you were there was somebody sitting in your seat, but in the same thing, and that's fine. It's the adjusted salaries. They're not necessarily the new salaries for the new positions either. If I might add, pardon me, Your Worship, if I might add, let's not forget that last year with the salary scales, we had to place certain employees in certain places, and that had an impact. We also had different people with different roles who were necessarily hired at the same level. There was adjustments across many facets, and that is such that that figure increased. In addition to that, we're also proposing to add another staff member. And the policy that the council approved, where upper management with the overtime, where does that find itself in the budget? That is part of this as well. It's a roll-up for all employees. Yes. That's in the administration section. Each department has the same type of structure. So there's this section of staff. So we have the salary of everyone separated throughout the document. So 200,000, an extra employee, there's reclassification within that, and there's budgeted overtime. Yes. Is there anything else in there? Cost of living. And the cost of living. Is there anything else? Every time I ask the question, we add something. Is there something else? That's it. And that's fine if there's nothing else. I just want to, yeah. No, that's it. I have it in detailed form. Thank you, Your Worship. My pleasure. Great. Let's continue.
Okay.
In 2.1.8, it says lawyer. That's where all the professional fees are found. So whenever we go externally to seek assistance for staff, for administration, it falls within that category. So this year, we're going from 150,000 to 175,000. There's the strategic plan items such as climate change. There are various initiatives, but it's planning based on professional expenditures of this year. We added a bit to make sure that climate change was able to be included within that. Next section, other administrative services. That's an increase of 49% as well, from 106,000 to 159,000. We're negotiating the collective agreements with the employees, the unionized employees, and it's also an adjustment based on real expenses that we saw this year. And we have to implement measures, training measures for health and safety at work. So we have to hire a health and safety officer, and next year it will take some efforts to implement those measures.
Conseiller Lacombe.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Sur
yes, on the service fee for evaluation. So we did not do any evaluation, right? And if we did it, like the government does not allow us to implement it. It's like 2.1. So it's a formula that is dictated by the law for the assessment, for the tax evaluation. It's an amount that we pay to the provincial government every year, and it's based on our tax base. We do not dictate like the increase. It's the province that established this one. And essentially, like we pay, I will tell you, I'm a little bit surprised that we're paying more since there is a tax freeze, but we still had a 6.6% increase that led to an adjustment to the formula. But it's legislated according to the amount we're paying. From what I understood, like from the provincial, for the taxes, because of the freeze and the increase of those assessments that we do not receive any tax for, because it's not accounted for in our tax base, the province is still charging us. It's one of the things, like it's something I will bring you back. Like we're hoping to bring it back like next Monday. So there were like two letters, like one from the UMNB and IFNB. It's one of the items like for the province. Like it's a little bit, it's kind of not fair. They do not like the assessment evaluation freeze, but it's one thing that's part of this letter. So we had some kind of resistance to send it as is. We were supposed to rework on this. So I consulted with my CAO in terms of what would be the hangouts of those evening on those letters, and how much money we would lose. It was like a few million, 4.1 million. Like we will tell them, like not fall ball, but will it change something? Well, you can continue. The line that we would like to bring, the service commission. So we see there's a reduction in the collaborative and regional services, but really, like there's an increase also with the service commission, like 7%, like we increased the budget. I just wanted like to mention it there because you'll see a lot of lines like that impact service commission. Some it's reduction, but the net it's an increase close to 6%. If we go to 2.1.9, other like general administration services, so we have an increase from 233 to 255,000. Is the tablets for the new council, like all the computer fees, and we increase also according to the number of employees with the town, and some implementation of work management platform. So if we end up with this so systems, we use that word to make sure our operational excellence continues to improve. To continue with this one, is section fire protection, buildings and equipment. Material and fire equipment is just to mention what they're working on this year, the special equipment they were looking to have. It was a portable pump to help them. Other than this, with the fire protection, the fees are very similar, except those who are increasing because of the cost of living. RCMP 2.9 million. These are the real number because they did confirm with us. That's what it costs, and it's with the provincial contract. It's not a number we can change. And the transportation services with common services, building and equipment. So this one, material and general equipment. These are small equipment repair and maintenance. So that's where we put the planned increase. I was talking in the summary to repair the floor of the municipal operation center. It's a little augmentation, but that's where the augmentation is. If we look also road transport, so in street lighting, I would like to bring your attention, energy section, it goes from 369,000 to 599,000 approximately. So this increase is based on the 4.5% that was announced by NB Power. So we also adjusted to the real cost of this year. And the amount differs from the 368,000 for last year. It's not the numbers I have, the document I found with the administration. So I based my number at 440,000 that I have in my system. And when I opened the document, they were at 368,000. So it's something I was not able to explain for 2025, but it still reflects the real cost that were. And we are in line with 593,000 is what it would cost this year, but the 360,000 for 2025, I think it was too low, and it was adjusted after the fact. So I don't know what happened with that document. But right now we're comfortable and confident with that 593,000. 600,000 it's just for street lights, because at the time they changed it to the LED, so it would be more eco energy saving, but it's really the post and the repair and maintenance. It's not the lights itself, it's what we're doing with the LSDs in the town of Shediac. So it's all the street lighting that's there. It's not only the NB Power's fee. And if I may add, also there's three specific street. These are decorative street lights, so they do not belong to NB Power. So any repair, if a light bulb breaks, they're not part of the NB Power program, so we need to pay for those services. So it incurs additional fees because we are the owners and we are not renting those poles. What we are referring, the new region, it's included in this amount. They paid before. It's just the bill goes to one place instead of going to more than one place. More streets, more posts, more lights. And we have to keep in mind the new developments and even new installations, and it leads also to an increase in this category. Councillor Roland Cormier, thank you. Yes, I will. But there's still $300,000. There's still an increase, 60%, give or take. can you tell me, like, so I understand better, like, what is really included in the $600,000? Yes, I will even find it here for you.
Parce que Monsieur le directeur nous a dit que
Mr. CEO told us,
les lumières de les régions,
like the street lights
nouvelles régions,
for the new region,
étaient là l'année dernière.
they were there last year. So the bill should be there in theory, but the amount, and I will let him the time, like, to find the additional information. But the amount that we budgeted last year does not correspond, like, to the real amount that we saw in 2025. Yes, there was an increase of the rate for NB Power, but if the rate, if it happened last year, like there was an increase, maybe it wasn't accounted for, so it means the rate for this year that was announced wasn't accounted for. So there might be a double hill, like over the years, like we did not accounted for. And of course, the addition of the new lights and also the service for the streets. So if you have more detail, absolutely, you can provide them to me. That's exactly it. So this year, for the old Chediac, 440,000 that we have in the budget, like I was working with until we came up with this one here. The $440,000, I left it there, like to 640, just to make sure, like, because you fit 288,000 out of the 440, and we are in October, so we still have, like, the bill for October, November, and December to pay 65%. And I think there will be a little bit money left, but because for the 4.5% increase, like, I let, like, the old Chediac at 440,000, and we have it for Pointe du Chêne, 48,000. So increased 49,640 for the LST. We had 100,000 for 440, and I increased it to 103,453. So the two of them, they're at 75% spent already. So the 593,000 is probably the best number. It was 360 was not the number at all. Not at all. Not exact. It's important. Those who are listening to us this evening, it should have been 404,000. Should have been like 500 something. We cannot explain why, but it's okay. We cannot explain this important. Like so, this is not it's not the real number. 200,000 more, even more. Like it's not really it. Maybe 30,000 extra. So in the budget for 2025. It did not increase like that. Thanks for bringing this correction. NB Power like increased it 9.1 or 9.7% in April. It was more than one. It's not something it's not a small amount. Councillor Paul Boudreau is saying, Roland, the numbers were not, I know, like it's just a side. Last year, like we did not have a financial report. We had it like everyone, and Patricia was always asking the right question. So next year, it would prepare us like an item like this one. We would see like to change. We would see like the percentage where we at in our expenses. We did not have a report like this one. So next year for 2026, we could have this one once a month. So I completely agree with you. And of course, with the change in staff, and it kind of led to challenges to give this. But the goal is to provide like a quarterly report, so you know where we at. And during, so when once we get to the budget deliberation, you will be better informed to see there might be some kind of anomalies, like we adopted the budget, we might have made a mistake. I cannot explain, but I anticipate based on the amount we had. We have to keep in mind that we work with the formula that the province is asking us to fill. So it's different than our internal control. Could be a typo, did not take the right amount, might have been 400,000. I cannot explain, but there was certainly a mistake, and we have to correct that mistake. Definitely, we will provide some report. Yes, we completely agree with you, totally agree with you. 100 and you had 125% like in mid. We're asking like the director, like, so it's a good practice for us, and it kept us informed. So next year, to give more work. That's okay. Yes, we would be very happy to give you this information. If we continue with what I had, like green transportation, environmental services, it's a 4% increase altogether we're getting from the Service Commission. I was wondering. Sorry, I did not. I shouldn't have tried to. Environmental development, if we look also to land improvement, beautification, and rehabilitation, the 2.6.1.1.2. So this is the amount paid for planning services for Plan 360. So I know, like, you showed an interest that we do a study. We should receive a report soon with the analysis you ask us to do. So if you want to know, like, what is the increase for next year to this year, so we'd be at this, on this line. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. Like, it was yes, it was a discussion subject. I have a question. So this amount, does it include the amount for the regional plan that will be preparing? I'm wondering if they're saying two different bills. Essentially, like, I think the regional plan will have to pay regardless. Either it's part of this amount or regional collaboration. It's one or the other, but definitely it's part of those categories. And I might have to do some research and ask the question to Stephanie, but all the operations for the budget that were adopted by the Service Commission, they're included. They're included in the budget as adopted. Because I was under the impression, like, regional collaboration, you had the regional plan, essentially, like, it's the same employees doing that work. They're taking care of rezoning and building permits, and they're also doing it, like, for the trail, like the shoreline trail, like so it was accounted for differently, because even if the City of Moncton and Dieppe, they have their own planning service, they contribute on this, so they don't have a choice. So that's why I think it should be identified some way. Thank you. I do not have the breakdown, but I could provide you the budget for, and we got it, I think, this morning because it was adopted last evening. So we can provide you, like, the budget adopted for Plan 360. So we'll be mentioning the different expenses and categories. You can go on a bit lower in the budget, like beautification and rehabilitation, 158,000 to 112. So this section, it's flowers and beautification, insurance, repair and maintenance for downtown, environmental project, like the Friends of the Butterfly, that's part of the strategic plan. Councillor Paul Boudreau. Yes. So we had a comment from the council for the maintenance or the investment for our green spaces. So this line, what it's for? No. In part, part, yes, but it's not all of it. Like it's mostly like most of it is downtown. So we have a line for special project for green spaces, Rotary Park. So they have their own expenses. So each park they have like their own line. Green spaces and parks. Eventually, not this evening, we will have like some kind of report what's forecasted for 2026 to beautify like our land. So is it like 8 picnic tables? So in a detail like that. So if I'm not mistaken, like it's available for the recreation director. So each park will receive an improvement this year. But for the details, we could share the report. So there are some improvement that will be done. If I may add, yes, it seems as if there's an amount. It doesn't mean like we are reducing it, but we have expenses that are different. But this level of standards you saw over the last year, our goal is to keep at minimum same level of standard. We do not want to reduce like the beautification or all the efforts we did like to bring the parks and so unfortunately the director is not. She had another she had a training like outside for parks specifically. We'll make strategic investment to continue like what we already started, like especially notably like the Webster Park Web improvement, other parks like. But if you want a more detailed plan, certainly like we can figure something out. $40,000 less. It's not on this line, it's on other lines. You see my point? It seems like there's not $40,000 less in parks. Like it's just this category what is presented. There are some things that do not exist anymore that we don't do. It might be like a one-time project last year, but all the investment in parks, like, they will not change. Like they will remain the same. I'm happy to hear this. If you allow me, like this category specifically, it's a downtown Shediac. It's not what we like. The letter like is sending to the. It's what the town invests in downtown, and the 30,000 reduction. Well, this year they were supposed to build like some decoration, and next year those decorations they already have it. So those who are taking care of the flower beds, taking care of flowers, nothing changes. Like it will continue. For the green spaces with this section specifically, we go like for 3,000 like to 103,000. Thank you, Monica. Councilor Milibert, thank you. I think he just answered my question. We can go to the next one. It doesn't cut out anything like in operations downtown. Okay, that's good. So once they had the decoration, they don't have to buy them again the following year.
Je peux l'éteindre si tu veux, quand c'est vrai.
Yeah, so Brian, I can turn it off. So we'll continue like with economic development. So the administration part, I will go through like all the items. So the first section, it's administration staff, like 285,000 to 504,000. I do not want to cause a big shock to everyone. The net zero part is there, so 89,000 will be able to recuperate through the transfers we have from ACOA, from revenues, and that's where also the new position that we're discussing. There are some salary adjustment, and there are also like adjustment based on with the coordinators in tourism. So we have a for tourism office and an economic development that takes care of tourism. So we had some adjustment. So this one here, and yes, and also the net zero that was added. For administration other, well, it goes from 136,000 to 442,000. Let you guess, it's where we put like the net zero expenses. There are 309,000 for 2026, and it's directly related. We already get those grants. If it's so 450,000, and the town of Chediac is responsible for 31,000. This one will come out the budget, but for the rest, we'll get it from the federal government. Councillor Patricia Bourg, thank you, Mr. Mayor. 2.6.7 said staff. Is it a new position we mentioned at the beginning of the week? So what is the new position in administration? Like I wasn't sure. I thought it was an assistant. So what is a new position? It's a new position in economic development for the industrial park. We'll have an economic development director, so a director for the industrial park. It's not really a director like that. So that's good. Thank you. Councillor Joël Després, thank you. Monica, like for the administration, so it costs like 30,000 compared to the 442,000. And what is the reason for this? Because we receive the revenue, so we have to reflect like all the expenses. It's in the revenue section. So this revenue is reflected, and the expense has to be reflected to its full amount. So the rest of it. And also we have to include all those expenses to the system, so then we can make a claim. The federal. So we really have to count it just to justify your revenue. Councillor Paul Boudreau, I see like for the net zero. Big smile. Net zero, it's a very good project, and revenues are coming from the federal government. But if we do not have the 81,000, like it's not something we can know in advance. Are we committing to an expense 100 and 200,000 per year for this project? To your knowledge, Jonathan, I don't want to put you to my knowledge also. So the next year we'll do consultation with the citizens and what are the projects and with the community support and the support from the council, like this project would come up annually. Like it would look also at other like funding method. But this year the big difference, like the revenue has been confirmed. I understand this. But the idea is to get some other money. It's not like the net zero, like the taxpayer will pay share, like we do. And 40,000. So it's money from elsewhere, like that will fund this project. And for 2026, for 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029, we'll get some cash. It's not our money, so it was my concern that we'll be stuck with other administrators, other offices, other tablets, other. So the employee that was hired to go to executive of the execute the initiative, so she's with us as a contractor basis, so it wasn't created. And of course, her amount, like if they're able to meet the initiatives they're doing and to show like the benefits, so we would be able to build a business case to get extra funding. to continue like the initiative, and eventually I will not lie to you, like the town will have to decide if they want to continue, like if the funding is not there. But for now, like this decision is not to be made now. Thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah.
In the same section, like grants, it goes from 1 million to 460,000. And well, it's mostly like it's directly to the reduction in the construction permits. So there was a change in the residential incentive and also like commercial incentive. So these are our forecasts for next year. And the next section, other economic development services, that's where we included like the Skuduk Industrial Park, the operational expenses. And this is in development because right now we're putting in economic development, but once it's officialized, it will become like a part of the town of Shediac. It's still managed by the operations. It might fall into like the for management, the other categories, but the revenue and expense, they're linked to economic development. So this number will be somewhere. It might not be at the exact same location for 2026. If you want to other development services in tourism, and other touristic services, there's a 20,000 increase. So it's based on activities with Shediac, so Heart Heroes, Witch Crawl, and we had different initiatives and a couple new ones. So we increased the budget. And for the arena, section 2.7.1.5, so rink and arena, other it moves for 280,000 to 222,000. So the main reason for this is because there's some work to be done in the washroom. So they have to replace like toilets, and problem also like with the floor. So we have to fix the floor like at the entrance of the arena. So these projects that will be done this year, as Julie said earlier, like with the study for the building, also the condition of the building. So it was the reason for this main increase. And to continue with the parks and playgrounds in the staff.
We have combined the theater camps with the other summer camps. Usually there are separate lines. So we'll see a bit lower in other cultural services. You'll see that amount is 0 this year. We just moved the employee salaries. And for parks and playgrounds and others, it goes from 420,000 to 250,000. This is due to projects that are taking place this year. Improvements to Webster Park this year, most notably. And in the 2026 budget, foreseen expenses are going to green space rather than trails. So that realigns things. But it's not an absence. It's not really a lowering. It's green spaces and special projects that is absorbing most of the improvements for the parks. We'll mention it once we get there. We'll get there. In cultural services, sorry, that was that no longer exists. That one, that's at the end of the section. 2.7.2.9. Now it's financial services. Financial services are in the middle. Special projects at the end. We'll come back to the other projects upcoming with parks. In terms of financial services, in terms of debt payments, the interest on the long-term debt is going from 447,000 to 1.1 million. And the principal installments, 1.1 million to 1.8 8 million. The main reason here is that there's new debentures this year. This year, we had payments to be made on interest payment. Next year, we'll start to pay the principal plus 2 interest payments on those debentures. So basically, would it be Main Street from last year? Chesley as well, Pleasant, Harper, Victoria, San Joseph, Breau Bridge, and Bellevue. Was one debenture that had 5 projects on it. It was about $15 million in terms of a loan. We made the projects, and now we built the projects, and now we're starting to pay them off. Councillor Paul Boudreau, can you go back in time here? Historic places, a couple, about 10 lines before. 33,604. It seems a very precise number. That's a maintenance plan for the old train station, 5,000 to repair the base of the totem, Pascal Poirier, 2,000, and 4,000 set aside for maintenance compared to 3,000 this year. And the rest of that amount, Maison Pascal Poirier, and the old train station, all of their expenses, electricity, internet, insurance, all the expenses, fixed costs plus special projects with some adjustments. Thank you. Councillor Ronald Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. So debt payments. I just want to properly understand here. Right now, our annual debt payments, would they be 1.5 million? That's it? And it will increase to 3 million? No. If you are adding both? That's what it means? It means that we have a commitment for the next 15 years of 1.5 millions more per year for the next 15 years. Solely, and we're not talking about next year's debentures. I just want to make sure that the citizens who are listening, I know some Sarah tell me that they're listening, that right now we have a $1.5 million debt, more or less, for the next 15 years. It increases without having made any other expenses. It will increase to 3 million. It's 1.5 million in addition per year that we need to pay the mortgage, like those who have a mortgage on their house. That's right. That's absolutely. I might add a correction. Not necessarily 15 years. There are debentures that are for less long, not as long, and some are for longer. So it depends. As you're accounting for it, the payment of the mortgage next year will be the 3 million. Yes. So the mortgage will not go down next year. It will increase next year. Absolutely. We've seen this. Yes. I just want to make sure that the citizens properly understand that. We are spending money right now that we don't have, but these are long-term investments, and we hope for. Absolutely. And if that we're waiting for, rather. Yes, Councillor Cormier, next year, it's the fire hall debenture that will be coming up. Breau Bridge Phase 2 will be coming up, Calder as well, and the work done on the trail for the stormwater sewer. If we look at 2028, it will be the trunk sewer. We'll add to that. And the fire truck is 2027. We haven't had it yet. We haven't received it yet. All of those forecasts that we're talking to you about were integrated into the debt profile that was presented the other evening. It's in the 5-year plan as presented. That's why I said that at the last meeting that I found that the 5-year plan, with all of the investments that we wanted to make, is extremely daring, and I'm not convinced that we have the capacity to pay everything that we say that we need. That's the point I'd like to make. And I'll make it once again once we vote on the budget. If we vote on the budget. Councillor Bishop-Cheverty, are there debentures that will be closed as of next year? Is that in the document? Next debenture that will come to term is 2029, perhaps? Yes, 2029, 1.2 million in 2029. That's 20, and then 2030, 2031, it's 1 million each time. The largest debenture in 2038, that's where much of it would go down at 6 million. Until then, it's 1 million a year. And it's none are closing up before 2029. That's why that profile is important to present to you. We certainly recognize that the province that recognizes that as a municipality, a long-standing municipality, that we need to invest in renewing our infrastructure and our asset management plan. It does determine that we need to make sure that we maintain our assets. But it's also this constant fight for new services that are requested, like the recreation center, playgrounds, activities. We have a growing population. We have changing demographics. That's why it's important for us to properly depict this for you. More and more, we are focused on priorities and not just the nice to haves, if you don't mind that analogy. On the province's side, they will give in 2026. They'll give us a little more than $500,000, which is strictly reserved for repairs to infrastructure. That amount will increase by 20% per year for the next 4 years. After that, it will reach a bit more than 1.1 million. This is on an annual basis. In 2025, the province gives us 71,000. Next year, they're giving us over $500,000, and then over $1 million. This is good news on that front. But it's not just with $1 million a year that we'll be able to invest based on what's on our list. It's not the only source. That's why we need to find other sources of financing. And listen, we've in 2024 we just did over $8 million on Main Street. 2 years before, it was over $7 million on Main Street and English Street. The fire hall, over 8 million, just right there. Plus the 2.5 million for the truck. These are not small amounts, but they were necessary things. And I salute the leadership around the table for having wanted to go forward with that. But might have a little less pocket money to do other things for a few years. It'll come later. Continue, please. Thank you. And the last thing I want to mention in terms of debt services is short-term interest for capital projects. So as we wait for our long-term loan for those debentures, we're trying to manage it as best we can within our cash flow. But by the end of the year, you always have to borrow on the credit margin that we have taken out to finance capital projects before seeking that debenture. So the interest next year, we foresee that it will be over 575,000. Those are for the projects that I mentioned: Calder, stormwater, the fire hall, and the project starting in 2026. To seek a debenture is twice a year, March, October, more or less, and we wait a month or two to receive the money. So in the meantime, our money is within the credit margin. You have to pay interest. Cost of doing business. It's the cost of doing business, as they say. Yes, indeed, that's it. So if you'd like to go to the next section in reserve fund and other funds, transfer to capital fund, operating reserve. Sorry. The interpreter apologizes. He missed the number. There's 75,000 for legal fees. There was engineering services. The interpreter missed the amount. Did we not budget for consultancies and the consultants? In lawyers, those are consultants as well. I don't know why it says lawyers there. In our books, it says professional honoraria. That's where it falls. Let me restart. Engineering fees, sometimes there are consultants, and that's where we put them in. If it's for public works, let's say, a consultant would be charged under engineering costs. We also have next year engineering costs. It depends on the year that the project falls. One of those two accounts. And in terms of administration, the line that says lawyer, that's where consultancy fees would go. Normally, last year, we were looking at each other last year. We were looking at Sabatina. It was never called lawyer. It was always professional honoraria. We think that the province changed their template, and that's when we're using their template. So lawyers' fees would be in that line. Yes, the number is the same. Expenses are more. We have to take into account the climate change plan. We're proposing an increase, but it's not $175,000 for lawyers. There are various consultants that we use, but it's categorized that way because that's the provincial formula. So the fees that we pay to Englobe, certain projects, it's all in there. It's within engineering fees. Thank you. Let's continue. It's called General Capital Fund. We're trying to not use that term, but there we are. It's no longer gas tax, it's the Community Development Fund. We find other words. My apologies, Your Worship. You'll see it says list purpose for current year only. I didn't add the descriptions there for those projects. But if you see the 650,000 in the previous year amount compared to 700,000 this year, that amount corresponds to the fees incurred for the recreation center over the next year. The 500,000 that is set aside for that, and that's for the next steps of what is to come, as Julie refers to, and the 200,000 for improving the parks. That 200,000, that's where you'd find it, based on the reports that she's received and what will be happening in each of the parks. It's on this line. It's on this item line. Great. Councillor Paul Boudreau. When we have the details for the $500,000 for the recreation center, what will be received for the 500,000? I know that she's going to speak about this soon. She was waiting on the consultant's report, expected to come at the end of the month, and it's near the end of the month. So I would expect, if it's not the next meeting, it would be the one after. I would imagine she's waiting on those details. Ultimately, we have to account for an amount to continue on the file. The amount that we foresee for 2026 is $500,000 to continue all of the steps. There perhaps will be studies or some hires, promotional campaigns to be done that would be part of that budget. We don't have specific details yet because it's still fluid. We don't entirely know all of the needs based on the reports, but we're putting in an amount to continue to move that project forward, and we put in $500,000. In the 5-year plan, it was $1 million to buy the piece of land. That is in the 5-year plan. It's not in that amount. Let's say that we need to acquire some land. It would probably be via a debenture, and in capital projects, we're not foreseeing an increase for an expense for 2026. Just repeat what it's not $500,000 in consultancies. No. Any expense that will be in that amount will come back to council to approve it. Thank you. Great. Councillor Jeunesse Cormier. Inaudible? The 200,000, we can provide details, but it's mostly improvements to parks, if I'm not mistaken. Trails, etc. The increase from last year, we're foreseeing an increase from last year. Sorry, it's an increase in relation to last year. I just want to make it clear that when I ask for details, I just want to list. It's a one-pager would do. Thank you. Perfect. Councillor Janice Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. A question? So for the recreation center, are these the latest expenses before we go to see if we can gather up the money? Are these the last money before that? When we see our budget, well, nearly. I understand that we want a recreation center, but I think at some point we need to put a pause on this. I don't like to say it, but what's next? It's a good question. Listen, the model that we're traditionally used is design, bid, build. That's what we've used. We pay for the designs, you put it out to tender, we know how much it is, and then you build it. For a project of this scope, we're not convinced it's the best approach to take up. We perhaps will need to find a different methodology in terms of building this. When infrastructure is of this size, it is our intention, well, the report will certainly dictate what we will see in it, what's the programming, what's the catchment area. There's still other steps to achieve. Are there partnerships that we have to enter into with neighboring municipalities? Perhaps they want to participate in preparing the project, or in capital investment or in operating investments. In terms of the type of construction, there are other methodologies. Raising money, there are steps that we need to achieve before we can say we have something ready to present to our funders. We have something ready where we can go to market. Many different steps later in the steps that we've set out that we haven't yet reached. And this $500,000 will allow us to continue to get closer so that we don't need to invest. Look at the engineering team right now, just the potential plans for this type of building. These are in $200,000, $300,000 drawings. It's probably going to cost 7 zeros associated to the design. The importance of all of the various control elements in that. We don't want to invest that amount of money if we're not able to pay the amount. We need to get to a certain level and find perhaps different methodologies to build to make sure that we don't spend more than we need to, and that we respect the necessary investments to not exceed and spend too much of the Shediac taxpayer money. I think it's important at some point, sooner rather than later, that we look at the possibilities for the town, what are municipalities, if we bring them in, before we go too far. I don't want to spend much more money, and then after that, we realize, well, we're not going to raise money, the others around don't want to participate. I think that a preliminary exercise would be an important thing to do. And then I do worry that we're spending all this money, and then once we get there, we won't be able to actually do it. We need the support and some fundraising. We need support of local neighboring communities, absolutely. But is there a way to have this be preliminary? I'm saying yes and no. Ultimately, the financing campaign, well, we want a recreation center. What would it look like? What's going to be inside of it? What services are going to be offered? How much will the center cost based how much money do we need? How much money do we need to raise? These are all things that we need to know before we can sell the concept. This is the first question. When we talk of donations and fundraising campaigns, all right, what do you want to do? How much will it cost? If you can't answer either one of those questions, stay home. We know what we want to do. How much will it cost? We know roughly how much it will cost. We know roughly what we want it to look like. I think that we should at least seek out expressions of interest. I'm not saying contracts, but interest. Listen, this is our vision. This is where we're heading. How interested are you? I think that we should start to think in a preliminary way. Are there people who will join with us or not? If we wait another 2 years and we haven't, and we spent this money and nobody chooses to participate, it's going to be a mess. I'll say one thing, at least. I understand the risk that you're exposing, that you're explaining. At the Regional Service Commission, in terms of what is a recreational infrastructure that is regional or sub-regional, this is being finalized. This will provide the framework in terms of how it will operate. The Regional Service Commission will adopt this. We haven't received it yet. This is after a lot of discussion. We've been discussing this since 2023 so that we can get the framework. If we want to do this, it will operate this way. It will dictate, well, you want to do infrastructure in this place, it will dictate for the municipalities that are next door, it becomes a project for you people as well. There are other discussions then with our partners, but it won't be a town of Shediac is asking a town of Kapakadi a certain amount. The amount will already be determined. It won't be just this number that's just taken out of anywhere. It'll be an accurate number. This is coming in 2026. This will help. It will provide for sub-regional support. We often ask about where we've arrived, but I think there are steps. But so, is it logical in 5-6 years? I just don't want to go forward and then. That I'd rather now before than after. I'd rather know now before than after. What worries us is the total amount. Well, phase one be such an amount of the total amount. Maybe that's what we go forward with. Maybe phase 1 and 2. Maybe not all the 5 phases at once. If there are 5. So for the people who will support or do some fundraising, they could change for them. Are we doing this in phases? I think there's more work to be done there. Even if we don't set out the steps, there's some discussion. We know who's in our community. We know who is likely to provide money and join in. I think we should need preliminary discussions, even if that's not the step we're at, even to give us a sense of our community. I would say that those are initiatives that we need to do in 2026. Yes, thank you. Councillor Paul Boudreau. On the same topic, to follow up on Janice, I'm a bit disappointed. It's not for tonight or next week. We're asked to vote a budget that will free up money for that Escalade project. $500,000 here, $1 million to buy the land, and long term, $45 million. Numbers like that. We haven't even yet received the report in terms of how much it will cost. The time frame was for 12 weeks when we accepted it in March. 12, it's a month. It's 7 months. We haven't received any documents in 7 months. It would have been good. We could have debated things and say that document that I'm hoping on seeing the components of this project. Is it 20 million for the pool, 50 million for such and such a thing? I'm disappointed that we haven't yet seen that prior to voting. I know that the money is not committed, and you're right. I'm a bit disappointed that we're going to be voting on a long-term project. And again, the perception that our citizens will see is that we go with the Cadillac We don't know how much a Cadillac will cost. This is where I have concerns. People would expect a pool that looks like our neighbor. I'm concerned by this. I really want to move this project forward. I'm waiting on this report. I'm on the committee. I've had one meeting. I haven't had any follow-up. I think that it was a consultation, if I remember correctly, Paul. There were several, but what you're referring to just now, Your Worship, you're right. It was regional. It was very interesting. Lots of statistics. How many people are in cocaine? Kapale. Very interesting per se. And the next step I asked for is what we're looking for. How much will it cost? And I know it can vary, tariff and all that, but if at least they can tell us that's what it was, and then, as Jenny says, instead of having an ice surface, an Olympic ice surface, we'll put another ice surface. At least for council with the staff and the administration, it will come. I'm also frustrated that that report that we haven't received it yet. Yes, delays, but I'm not writing the report, and we aren't writing the report. But we know that the expertise retained to prepare that study is the expertise that's reliable and that many of our neighboring municipalities have used and with great success. We don't have a choice. Well, fine. It takes somebody. For some reason or another, it's been delayed. Dozen weeks. We have to go forward with the project, but the timing is. But I hope that the delivery will go well. That's my viewpoint. I understand your concerns, Councillor Boudreau. On our end as well. We're trying to move this file forward as quickly as we can. There have been delays. We understand that. But I just want to say a little something here. I don't think that there's anybody in the room here, around the table, who is working for the town or who's elected or who has ever worked on a project of this scope. It's very important for us that we ensure that we are responsible when it comes to taxpayer money. You make a small mistake on a small project, maybe leads to a small amount, but a small error on a big project, that leads to a big amount. We want to make sure that we do things right. We want to make sure we miss no steps. We understand that it requires more time, but we'd rather get it right. And we want then making sure we get it right now. The approach that we're taking, a little error can lead to a bad situation, and we don't want to put you in a bad situation. In Ottawa, what about long-term financing with our federal partners? Right now, federal government has no money that we can apply for. Nothing is open. Is that right? We do hope it. We're waiting for it to come. It's the same thing as the former CEO was saying. Right now, even if we were all ready, we have a stick, but no hole to put it in. We do hope that we'll create one. We know that they'll create one. Anyway, our federal representative is certainly aware of this. Your Worship, the budget legally has to be voted on no later than what? November 15th. So to answer Councillor Boudreau, there's no urgency tonight or tomorrow until November 15th to vote on the budget. If we're not comfortable with voting on the budget, if we want studies, and I'm sympathetic, I agree with what you're saying. You're even more lucky than everyone around the table.
You got a briefing that I had no idea what you got. So you seem to be a little bit ahead of us. And I agree, like we're asking to vote on, you're asking us to vote on big amounts. And we see like the debt ratio. I don't want to vote on anything if I don't know what I'm voting on. So I would not agree agree to vote on. I do not want to vote on something I don't understand. I'm not criticizing. It's just a process, and it's unfortunate it took more time, but we still have a 2 weeks and a half runaway. That's the point I want to make. Councillor Boudreau, we do not have to vote for it. If the majority of the council decides to vote this evening, but we're not obligated to. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Cormier.
Faites cette parenthèse-là.
End of the bracket. We'll go to the next slide. This line, 555,000 to 1,244,000. And the reason for this, these are the projects in the 5-year plans we want to pay from the general fund. So these amounts, they will not end up in debentures. So 12 were identified, and they're all on the next page. Like we'll go like in a couple of minutes. I will not name them because we'll see them very soon. But the total is 945,000, and we also put like the engineering for future years, 300,000. It's in this section too for these engineering fees. So these projects coming up, like for the 5-year plans, like we do not make any request for borrowing. The next line, 1.2 million, 1 to 1.1 million, and this one is the green strategy, the 25,000 like for the watersheds. We have tourism and economic development strategy together is 225,000. Incentive are part of this, like the purchase and discuss in a camera. So is it the incentive for economic development? Yes. They were discussed on Monday. And we also have a land purchase for the Lino Trail, for the Four Seasons Park. And there's a 300,000 amount identified for special projects of the council for the year. And we kept the same number for next year, 300,000.
Tout ce qu'on avait 300 000 cette année, on avait plus que ça.
We had 300,000 this year. We had more, like 300,000. It's at your discretion. There were 150,000 that was included. And there was another project like Judy got, and we did not give it, and you gave it. That's the one for $150,000. It was like the Lino, the trail. We move it from one line to this one. And there was another one, but I can't remember, like out of memory. Like if I found within the next couple of weeks, I will tell you. 400,000 before, and then the 230,000 for Pointe du Chêne. Anyway, that's okay. 300,000 for this year. Yes.
All right.
So this would conclude like the operational budget, $27,519,343. Any questions on the expenditures? I think they all asked them as we went. That's very good. One last council, but I will ask a question. Rala is always asking questions, so I'm yes. No question this evening. Yes, if we vote to adopt this budget, do we adopt like the human resources? If we adopt as presented, it includes like what's included in the budget, and it needs to accept everything that's there on all the lines. Just to be clear, is there anything we want to change or anything? We want like to address a couple of things that might have an impact on someone. So the council will be able to debate the amendment, so either it's adopted or not adopted. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to go back to the Escodoc Industrial Park. The revenue, 237,000. When we talk about economic development and other economic development services, 323,000. Was it always like that? But it belonged to the province. I just wanted to know if we would do something different. Absolutely.
Non, non, absolument, absolument.
Absolutely.
On va faire des choses différemment parce que
we'll do something differently because
ne faisait pas la promotion
the province did not an active promoting or do the development phases. If someone knock on the door, yeah, sure, tire kicking, but they did not do active promotion. So we have like a development plan that eventually we want to develop. So for the park not to be to have a deficit, but for long-term revenue would be the goal. So we recognize there might be some adjustment that we need to do with user fees. That did not happen. It wasn't done like for water and sewer and for all the users of the park. We'll have to do some work like to bring back this amount. As we presented, for 2026, the park will have like a $85,000 deficit to that. It's to help to develop the strategy. So this position eventually will be it would pay by itself. We're not taking this to lose money. It's to create money. Councillor Paul Boudreau, yesterday, as it was an item like to access to water, and it would be later. And it came in the Parc Rotary. And the Rotary Park, like we had like 100,000, most of the 800,000 for erosion. So the water access, where is it? Water access would be like in the 5-year plan. And right now, like we do not have a specific amount in the 5-year plan. What do you mean by specific? Is it zero? We do not have a specific amount. So because we did not determine if it's a project like the council would like to do, with which amount and what is the magnitude of the project. So it's kind of difficult for us like to put an amount if we don't know what the council. So once we have more information, well, if the council wants adopted, it will be included. Perfect.
Si vous voulez passer au document 2.4, c'est les projets capitaux.
It would be like 3 different tables.
Puis ça ressort du plan quinquennal. Donc,
it goes back from the 5-year plan.
J'ai pas besoin de passer
I do not have to go through like this because we pretty much saw all of them on Monday. Just to mention what we will, where we will get like some debentures is the first table for total amount of 22,546,250, and this includes like the project for main from King to South Coast. So the project that's in partnership with the province, and we also have like the Beaubridge Phase 2 project that's ending, and the intersection to the Ohio Road. For this one.
Councilleur Renaud Cormier.
Councilleur Renaud Cormier.
13.67. C'est un want or a need?
Is it a want or a need? 13.7. Oh, it was a vehicle like for the bylaw officer. Is it a want or a need? Is to replace a vehicle. Is it a want, something we want or something we need?
Okay.
I just want to know, yes. I understood your question, right? So the other option, like, is to continue to invest some amounts, like in repairs for the existing vehicles, but a car that's 10 years old sometimes it's not always easy. Okay, it's 10 years old. If I can explain also, like the goal for the addition of the vehicle. And the command vehicle, we would change it. I don't know when, but it would be changed in the fire chiefs. It did not need to be changed, but by default, like the bylaw officer is not receiving the vehicle from the fire chief because the fire chief is keeping his vehicle. but the vehicle, the bylaw officer is 10 years old because he got it like from someone else. So the goal of the question, I did not look at the car. I thought it was, I thought the vehicle was 4 years old, or 10 years old. So.
Je peux peut-être parler la
Peut-être un need.
la dernière
Yeah, it might be a need, like, because the last time what happened,
l'auto du chef pompier après 5
the car of the fire chief after 5 years was transferred to the officer, and the new car that came in for, we're wondering if it's the best practice because there are some changes. We change like the stickers, we change the lights, we change. So we would like maybe like for the fire chief to keep like his vehicle longer. So the bylaw officer, like, do they need like such a big vehicle? That's something we're questioning. So the goal is to buy something that's a bit smaller and also cheaper on gas. That could do like the same thing.
Qui va aider envers nos objectifs de net zéro.
And it will help also with our net zero objective.
On continue. Bonne question.
Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions pour les projets capitaux du...
Any questions for the capital projects for the general operation?
Donc, pour les projets capitaux en eau, ça c'est la même chose.
For the water section, water section of the 5-year plan, 9.1 million with 3 projects planned.
Donc, les projets pour lesquels on irait...
So the projects we would get like some debentures, a total amount of 32,660,000, and underneath is 945,000 I was referring to. It's the part that's paid from the general fund. So these are pieces of equipment, improvement to land, tennis, pickleball court, and an assessment for the multi-purpose, the new parks. These are all the things that would be better spent like from our operational fund. Councillor Janice, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So can someone give me more information on the improvement for pickleball and tennis? More specifically, like for improvement for the pickleball court, well, I think the goal is to redo like the whole surface for the existing line, because I think it came up to a point.
On peut pas continuer à juste la patcher.
We cannot continue to patch it as we are doing now. So it would be to see improvements. And for the tennis court, not all of it, but some of them, like we need to redo like some surfaces, but it could include the fencing, lights, etc., that have to be replaced or improved.
C'est bon. Merci. Councillor Joël Després.
Councillor Joël Després, thank you. Emergency. Did we get like a go ahead from the transportation department? Were we notified of this? No. No, the council was not notified.
Now you know.
Now you know. So that's why we included in the 5-year plan, because we got the go ahead for this one. Sorry if I did not. Councillor Lacombe, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I already mentioned it, but I'll mention it again. I'm certainly not against new parks in the Old Chediac. I'm not against at all. But I'm questioning like the logic or the commitment, because it's not the staff, it's the council that will decide. The staff is suggesting this, but the council will decide. So there was an amalgamation like 3 years ago. For since 3 years, like practically no investment outside of the old Chediac. no park. I know, like maybe the park in Skodok, but and people of Skodok really appreciated like the old park, like you remove somewhere that was not useful in the town, and it was removed from the Rotary Park, and people from Skodok, they appreciate it greatly. It's not anything, or happy to yeah, we're happy someone did it. But there's still a lot of parks like inside the town that exist. We should, as a municipal council. So before, like we build the new parks within the city, we should maybe dare to consider to have a park outside of the old Chediac. If we want to show that really like the town of Chediac is getting along together, it would be a very good gesture from this council to say this evening, yes, like the Jossin Park is important. Yes, we support this park. But I think we should have a park outside the old Chediac before we continue like to build like a big nice park within the town, because it's as far to go outside of the town to go than Chediac going outside. But there's some park if they wouldn't in park I wouldn't be similar. So I don't know how much more I can say than what I'm saying now. But I'm hoping like when we could decide if we can vote like separately, that I get the support from my colleagues to send a message like to people outside of the old Chediac, people part of the new Chediac. We got your back. As I said, conseiller Cormier. So that's what the administration is proposing to us. There's a lot of detail. It's a budget. It's a budget. That's what it is. If we can we'll get with a motion, not necessarily this evening, but maybe later. Will depend on the will of the council if we have time, because we're stopping at 9 o'clock, like because that's the budget discussion. The Blue Jays are paying, but they're starting at night. Thanks to be out west. So the council members can make amendments for any motion, including the budget to adopt the budget. So if it's the wish of the members of the council and it's seconded, the amendment will be discussed and there will be a decision on the amendment, and then it goes back, like if it's adopted, it's part of the budget of the main motion, and we'll vote it like. Yes. No, it gives you like a roadmap.
Si tu me permets, Monsieur le Maire, puis je comprends essentiellement le point que le Conseil.
Understand essentially the point like they're trying to bring, and I fully respect like their opinion, but our recommendations are based like on the many factors. Especially like the strategic plan. So the park on Justin Street, it's a specific item in strategic plan. So the actions we were supposed to start for the playground, like in the Skodok region, is also part of the strategic planning, but not to this full magnitude. So I want to remind you, if you go to the 5-year plan in 2028, 2029, I forget the year, it will be in this period, and essentially it would be included in the next strategic planning. It will become a priority access. So when we adopted like a strategic planning, we cannot focus on some initiative. If you want to make a change this evening, absolutely, you have the power, but just realize it's not only a change to the budget envelope, but you're making a change like to the access for strategic development that we already adopted.
Juste pour me rafraîchir la mémoire.
Just to refresh my memory,
Nouveau parc Rue Jocelyne.
I saw the new park, like Jocelyn Street Park,
Les choses.
Civil, the other parks. Is it the construction of the park? And
Dumb question, but je veux savoir.
dumb question, but I wanted to know. It does not include necessarily the plan, so it includes like the land prep also, site prep, etc.
Conseiller Emile O'Brien.
Councillor Emile O'Brien.
Question sur le
The
capital operating, whatever.
Ouais, c'est ça, ouais. Non,
Capital operator.
de trunk line sewer.
I was looking trunk line
7 millions.
sewer, like 5.7 million.
On parle de trunk line.
When we're talking about the trunk line, are we talking about the trunk line
Ohio qui s'en va,
on Ohio Street,
Oui.
going to the lagoon? A while Globe made a presentation, and they were talking about truck line starting here, and that was going Riverside Drive and going along the highway. That's a phase 2. This is phase 2, so this one, it's there, but it will not be done in 1 year. So this part is not there.
C'est uniquement phase 1 qui va.
It's only phase 1.
Que Nicolas va présenter l'autre
as Nicolas presented, going close to Route 15. Going to yes, so that this is phase 1.
Pour lequel on a déjà eu notre argent.
We already got the money.
Conseiller Patricia Bouchevry.
Councillor Patricia, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I should have asked my question before, but for a general capital project, since we're talking land purchase for the 262,500, and we're I'm the table like for the Monday's meeting, 500,000, 2025 other amounts are coming, and 2026, 27, 28. So we're purchasing those land. Are we doing something, or we're just purchasing them? So the plan you had originally, you had asked like, to see like for land purchasing to eventually develop. Was important to purchase the land, so for the development to happen, and the zone we wanted to do, and eventually to develop them. But it's not for right now. As planned the strategic plan, because you cannot develop anything if you don't own it. Means at the end of the year 2028, we would invest 2.8 billion in land purchases. So when would we be doing something like, so people will be using those lands, or? And I don't remember like the strategic planning. Like, we have the land, but so when will they be able to walk or run on those lands? It's not for right now, but, and I would like to remember like at the presentation that we had the group, they presented like all the like the big plan, and it's a step like to continue what was established. Will we lose it? But there are some speculation. Thank you very much. Congratulate, like people were talking 23 million, so that's what's important. So you said like for the land that Patricia is referring to, so the Rotary Club, they showed an interest. Is there a financial partner like the former mayor was here and was saying how important it was, and the Rotary Club would love to help us? Did they talk about the financial contribution, just to do like a quick sideline? We have to remember like those discussion were done in camera, so no information presented public. So if we want to answer, we needed to do it elsewhere than the public forum. I just wanted to make sure like the people were hearing and using this information like to do some speculation. I apologize.
Le connecteur Ohio, là,
So the connector, like Ohio, like 8 point. So is it from Bellevue to Ohio?
Non.
No.
C'est
East-West connecteur de 8,2 millions.
So the one for 8.2 million.
en partie, oui, mais pas
In part, yes, but not its in entirety.
L'école au rond-point. Ça, c'est tout
It's
le
from the
rond-point
school
au-
to
ouais,
the roundabout.
c'est, toute cette section-là.
It's all this section.
Pour la nouvelle rue.
It's for the new street, like the new street that will go like to the new school.
Oui, c'est ça que j'ai demandé.
Ouais,
De
oui.
Bellevue
That's
à
what I asked.
Ouais. Alors, on plaide.
Mais ça va pas aller jusqu'à la Bellevue.
So it will not go up to the Bellevue Street.
Ça va
Not
aller
initially.
juste
It
pour
would
la
go
distance, pour que ça puisse
for the
rentrer,
distance,
puis
so
l'entrée de l'école, la driveway.
so you can almost go to the driveway. The school will be part of the driveway. So where will you be able to take that from Ohio's road?
Elle va pas se rendre
So
jusqu'à
no,
la
it will not go up to the Bellevue Street.
Puis, je suis question, pourquoi nous autres, on paye un 8,2
So
millions,
why
c'est
do
pas l'école qui fait ça?
We pay 8.2 million.
Il y a une partie
It's
de
because
rue,
there's part of the
essentiellement, l'école veut inclure-
essentially the school can
Mais-
only have a driveway for the school, but doesn't have long term in the planning.
Ouvrir, l'accès à la circulation,
The access to traffic or the developments that will happen the other side of Ohio Street, or we're proposing a roundabout. But the school also is paying a part of their street to have them to with standards. So eventually it will become like a public street. No.
C'est ça le point.
So this is the point that's what we want to avoid. And that's what we are proposing as an investment for this entrance. And the raison d'être for the 8.2 million, 30% of this million, is it to have a better access, like from the school to the rest of the town? It's not only the school. Of course, it will have an impact on the traffic. So we want to ensure like the access is better controlled, like with a roundabout versus only an entrance. Because I will use the example of the LGR school. Right now, a lot of people, they have a hard time getting out. We just added like a light. So we're trying to avoid like the problem by having a roundabout at the beginning versus correcting a problem afterwards. So it would not give like to eventually, yes. It's like phase one here. It does not connect like the Bob McEwen like presented the engineering plan. That's why I'm asking the question. So there's a part the school is doing. So eventually there's another phase we have to do like connect for do. Essentially, is to make the connection to Ohio and up to the province will build. So they will be up to the standard of the school, and eventually we would like to continue a little bit later. And it's not on their land, so.
Okay. No.
Essentially, like this is the plan, like presented, like when we give the engineering fees, like to give for the design is to do this work. So Main Street, since
whatever, la main.
And yes, does the province contribute to 10 million?
C'est notre part, ça, ou c'est le projet?
Is it our share or is it the total project?
Combien d'argent qu'on a de Fredericton?
So how much money do we have? 1.5 million. So
Tu déduis pas 1,5 million?
you deduct 1.5 million. We have to show the total. We have to show because these are requirements. Not only this, but
we might be receiving a 1 million from the province, but we still have to go before the borrowing commission for the whole amount, lending commission for the whole amount. We have to repay it. The full amount won't become a debenture when it's converted long term. The 840,000 in Rotary. Where does that from?
On parle des needs puis les wants.
Talking about needs and wants here, 840,000.
C'était vous vous souvenez lundi soir.
You'll remember on Monday night,
de ça durant le
we spoke about this during the 5-year plan part. Much of that sum is to stabilize erosion that is happening at the park, Rotary Park. A few more adjustments as well. An accessible entrance, for example. An accessible ramp to reach the wharf, and some other small improvements that will continue on. That was based on the plan presented. I think that it was a plan that was identified, but much of that sum is to cover erosion issues happening at the park. And my last question, I know I feel like I sound like a broken record. I've seen zero amounts for Pascal Poirier House. If we vote tonight, or when we do vote, if there were a committee report when it will be formed, should be favorable to renovate it, we won't do anything until 2027? Not necessarily. That's not necessarily what we're saying. Right now, it's hard to put an amount to something that we don't know will happen. We put 1.5 million on an intergenerational center, and we have no report. I don't disagree with you. But for Pascal Poirier House, we will present a report to you. There will be consultations made. It's my intention to share more or less the steps at the next meeting, the next public meeting for regarding Pascal Poirier House. I spoke to the mayor about it this week. Related to Pascal Poirier House, beyond what we are doing it right now, that's what we have budgeted. If the mandate of the council is to do something different, we will have to adjust. We have to find a way, either through a special project or an adjustment to the 5-year plan. It's potential financing. Is financing possible? Yes, absolutely, from different levels of government. I won't hide to you that in all of these projects, we have to have a mindset, a more aggressive mindset, to go recruit, seek out financing from different partners, different government levels, and not just do it 100% on our own. I can't share how important this is. The management team is indeed on board with this, but we can't guarantee those amounts. Unfortunately, we don't know it. We have to apply for it. And last comment, you're doing great work. Staff is doing great work on the budget. For a first time, it's pretty good. Congratulations. That's all. Thank you, Councillor Boudreau. Councillor Ronald Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. Main King South Cove. I know that we have 1.5 million. That's probably 15% of the provincial contribution. But we still have 8.8 million that we have to find somewhere else. Is there an issue? Engineering-wise, is there an issue if we push back this project by 1 year or 2 years? Yes, we lose the financing, the provincial financing. Are there other issues? Other issues, obviously, basically it's financing, the largest part. If I'm not mistaken, in that amount, we're receiving an amount from the sewer commission of Shediac and area. We're replacing some infrastructure within that. It might unbalance. You won't lose it. No, but they won't do it. So if we say we lose it from the sewer commission, we can perhaps cut it, but the biggest part of it would be the provincial grant, the 1.5 million. But we still need to borrow the 8 million. Or 8.2 million. The point I'm trying to raise here, I know that we're not at our own house, but sometimes you have to manage it as you would your own home. Yeah, be conservative in our philosophy in terms of what we want, wants and needs. Yes, it's necessary, but is it necessary in 2 years? We might get that 1.5 million again. There's no guarantee of it. No, absolutely not. but we just have 15 cents on the dollar here for that file. It's not as if we have 50 cents on the dollar or 80 cents on the dollar. Like the trunk sewer, that's a no-brainer. But for this one, I'd be comfortable saying, even if we were to potentially lose it, we could stretch it out. We are spending money here, and I'm not convinced that we can pay everything that we're spending on. If we don't want to cut in the small amounts, you have to cut in the big amounts. I understand that everybody wants everything, but ultimately, there's only one taxpayer, and it's and all of us, well, most of us are taxpayers. We need to stretch the elastic a bit. Might be an opportunity to save 8 million or so, 8 million out of 23. It's a nice amount that we could save. It's 8 million in borrowing. No, it's 8 million in borrowing that we wouldn't be borrowing. Yes, absolutely. If we don't borrow 23 and we borrow 15 or whatever, 15 point whatever, that's my point of view on that. We need to stretch things a bit somewhere. I can't see that there is an appetite to pay all of that. Thank you, Councillor Cormier.
Councillor O'Brien.
Councillor O'Brien. Thank you, Your Worship. Pascal Poirier, CAO, you were speaking, you have understood that we have a consultant on this already? Well, right now for Pascal Poirier, I'll share the details. On Monday, yes, we will have public consultations with a consultant who will help us with mediation to see that the various groups and partners are involved. How can we add a new vocation to that building and determine according to the strategic plan so that the council can make a decision? Where do we want to be headed with the Pascal Poirier House? So there's a consultant who was hired. Is that it? They will help us with mediation and consulting. Second question: is there a timeline, Your Worship, for that committee for establishing the vocation? He will be presenting that next Monday during the regular public meeting. Oh, I understand. Okay, fine.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Councillor Patricia Brooke-Chavarie, thank you, Your Worship. It might be more of a question for administration rather than Your Worship. For purchases of land on Riverside Drive, $525,000 for the realignment. This is in 2026. I spoke about it at last meeting on Monday, that the opening of the ramp is in 2034. The purchase of that land, if we were to approve this in this year's budget, does this mean that administration will go there in January, February and buy the land and do negotiations? I'll just say where I'm heading with this. I find that there's no rush for that realignment, not just yet. That's my opinion. And in my mind, if we approve that budget, money in that budget, we mentioned it several times. There are costs associated. There's elections in May. And what happens if the next council doesn't see it as a priority? And we've bought land. We've moved houses. We've done everything in 2026. And in May, there are elections, and that council doesn't want to go forward with that. Does that mean that staff can wait until after the election? I don't know. Ultimately, the land acquisition would have been a council decision, not a staff decision, not an administration decision. Putting it there and by adopting the capital, it won't necessarily mean that we will acquire it. It means that administration will be mandated to do work, to bring a file before council so that the council can make a decision on that file. We have to put it in the budget. If we don't budget for it and don't do it, we have to find it somewhere else. And I'm fine that the amount is there. But let's say I'm not ready to vote on that item once you'll have done all the reports and everything in April for a new council that will be there in June. If you tell me that even if I say yes, it's fine, the put the $525,000 there, I understand your concerns, but I'll bring it back to the master plan, the strategic planning document, in the direction that the council chose to direct themselves in, irrespective of election or not. The next council has full opportunity to change that vocation, but just right now, we are working on what was adopted by this council. And this is part of, I understand what you're saying, but 2 or 3 times on Monday, you repeated 2026, 27, 28. You're not approving those budgets. There can be changes. If there can be changes, there will be changes there as well. It's just that the possibility is there that it might not be a priority for next council, and maybe it will be. But I don't know if it's a legacy I want to pass on to the next council. It does involve citizens who will have to move. After all, there's a potential of buying land. You can agree, but you buy the land 11 months later. I'd be fine. It's not. We won't necessarily be buying it, making an offer on Tuesday and buying on Friday. And if the next elections, if there are for the new council, it's up to them. We make recommendations based on what you wanted to do in terms of your vision and in terms of projects. We understand that the 5-year plan, well, yes, it may be seen as being ambitious, but what we've prepared an investment plan, what was a priority, how it aligns with the storm sewer master plan, the transportation master plan, strategic planning, all of the various developments that we want to try to improve or expand the municipality. That's why we are issuing those recommendations. Absolutely. Council can choose to not go forward with a given project. That is up to you. I just want to be sure, and I'm fine to leave it there. I'll leave the $525,000 there. Thank you very much. Thanks for that discussion. There's one thing I'd like to raise. This is my personal opinion. It's maybe an information, so I'll move.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. Alors,
thank you, Your Worship. I like my chair better than yours. So, Your Worship, just 2 seconds. Basically, thank you. Basically, this is related to some things that I've had some discussion, long discussions, actually many long discussions with the CAO. And he repeats the same thing, whether it be to you, to me, or to you. Here, we need financial partners for our projects. Sometimes we'll have financial partners that say, hey, I'll pick up the whole bill or most of the bill. I'm fine with that. I love that myself. I love that too. The opportunity that we had with the trunk sewer, a main trunk sewer, listen, we nearly developed that project to the point where it was shovel ready. We were almost there. We asked for financing for the design from the SDR, and they had granted it. And all of a sudden, the SDR found itself with available money that didn't expect. There was a project in another community that didn't happen for some reason or another. I don't know from where. I don't know who didn't know what. Sorry for them, but it's good for us. They approached us to say, well, look, we know what you want to do. Pipe is not overly complicated as a concept. Do you want to do it? Do you want the financing? They made us an offer. That will rarely happen. Good timing for us, right? Great. Let's take that. For other projects, yes, they will finance us up to 15%, 20%, 30%. I like a higher percentage for sure. It's just like anybody else. It's harder. It's easier on our taxpayers, whether they're from the old limits of Shediac or the new Shediac. Doesn't matter. And I understand your point, Councillor Cormier. It's in reaction to your comment, essentially. There's money on the table. I agree. Can we continue at this pace as we're doing? Well, as we've done over the past few years, well, something will slow down on that front at some point. But if we were really at a time that we had to choose a choice between something that we don't like and something that we really don't like, you have to be critical. You have to do what's necessary, not irrespective of cost. But if a water pipe is broken, as in Calgary, that was extraordinary, of course, a few years ago. It was one of their main lines, actually. You have to do that. No matter the cost. Calgary, the problem did happen. They got money after Alberta, the province of Alberta paid, and federal government contributed. It's a major scope. It was incredible. It took months before they got water for a whole town the size of Calgary. It was so critical. It was a public health problem. If you don't have water, you don't flush, etc. If we have to come to a point where we need to make choices between something we don't like and something they really don't like, it's really extremely hard choice time. Then you make your critical choices. There's no choice. You do things where you have financing that goes with it. Not as much financing as you'd like. You drop what you have no financing for. That's where we need to head, or you drop things. Well, do I invest now? It'll pay me in the future. Well, despite the fact I have to wait, I'd rather make that investment, at least if we're able to. I've seen nothing in this budget that we're not able to allow ourselves in terms of what we're proposing with 2026. In terms of our 5-year plan that projects investment expenses for the next 5 years and beyond, we're looking at the next 5 years under 5 columns. But what will be the next 5, 6, 7 columns after that? Yes, there are things that will be for later. If our recreation center, if we already had it, the investment that is planned for in 3 years, that's for the entire project. I would really like to do the whole project from the get-go. It would 22 million or whatever in construction, that's that. And then we'll see what we're able to do. We will never do what we don't have the means to do, especially for that project. Given its importance, it's a big expense as well, or a big investment at any rate. It will pay off in the end, in the long run. It will attract more families, allow for more development. We can invest in our infrastructure, our existing infrastructure. Lots of pipe and pave. It helps to attract more customers, more citizens. But something beyond roads and drains that works, because it doesn't work, you're not any more ahead. You must invest in things that will bring people to come live in Shediac. If it's something that I have been able to see so much over the past 2 years and a bit, there's a lot of new people here, and they choose to be in Shediac. And I've always said there's no reason why somebody would choose to be in Shediac. Why? Why don't you go to Moncton? Why don't you go to Memramcook? Why don't you go to Dieppe? We have a bay, it's different. It's different from other places, but it's to seize that opportunity so that we can invest for a return. The return will be new taxes, development, more families, more seniors here who retire here. I love them all. That's not the problem. The fact that we need a new school that's really good news. It will help to attract even more families. In my view, we have to focus our investments What's the expression I'm looking for here? You can't do everything, you can't give everything, but you need to make the investments in a strategic way. From what I can see here, based on our strategic plan, which is properly aligned for the growth of our community, it will allow for that. We could perhaps we can take these steps one step at a time. The recreational project is a big old elephant, and we can only eat it one mouthful at a time. Well, we'll hope to eat more than a few mouthfuls at a time, big bites, let's say, but it will pay off in the end. And yes, in 2 or 3 years from now, we might have fewer loans on the table because we'll have less capacity. We need to take the good things. What I see here, it's hard for me to say, leave the money on the table. And it's money that's here. I find it tough to do. In my view, the council has already decided no to money once. And after that, I saw a community, 2 community, 12 community, 28 communities, 35 communities in New Brunswick who all got money through the Housing Accelerator Fund. What would we receive? 350,000? 3 million? We would have taken it. We could have applied it to Bro Bridge that we're now paying 100% this year. It's a good decision on the part of the council. Even if it costs more, it will allow that development. It would have helped to pay the bill. It's not to say, I don't want to say that I don't like it, but it does hurt me when you leave money on the table. The money would have helped if we could have guided it. It's simply that. I'm not sure the analogy for me tonight in terms of saying no to money that comes from another level, even if it's only 15%, 18%, 20%, I want to do it. I'll drop other things before that. In terms of the way I make priorities, but I have a high level of confidence in what administration has presented to us tonight and the other nights that we've done. And if we continue later and we continue to debate, I'm entirely fine with that. I want debate. We can put ourselves on the same page and we head in that direction. There'll be some divergence of opinion around the table, and that is fine. There are 13 people around the table. We're not going to think exactly the same. There are some things we'd rather see, or earlier rather, or some rather, or later. So in terms of what I'm seeing in the budget so far, those are all good things. Is there a bit of tweaking that could be done? Well, it's possible. This is what the staff administration has given us for our consideration. They've explained the logic behind it. If you have other questions, I would encourage you to ask them. If we want to slow things down, we can do that. But it's not to slow things down to then have a bigger surplus. Is there an operation? It's a $50,000 surplus for operating budget. That's great. If it ends up being more by the end of the year, all the better. It means that's something we planned, though, that didn't happen. We're not to the point where we're in the red, and it's overly critical so far. We're not up to that. We're not to that point, and I'm confident that staff will not allow us to go there either. That's my 2 cents on that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Casey. And yes, the next. Grants. Yes, we're at grants. Councillor Jean-Michel Cormier. You could have said what you wanted. Did you want to ask questions on that? I thought I'll come back to you afterwards. The only thing I was going to propose in terms of grants and sponsorships, So if you won't give the amount that if you're fine with that approach, if you prefer, we can go one by one. I saw how you did your table. Oh, that's cool. Is everything fine on that front? So, in terms of Councilor Cormier, did you have something to add before? No? I'll give her the time to put the material on the table before asking questions. So it's 2.5 and 2.6. We'll start with 2.5. 2.5. Université de Moncton is first. Evolution campaign. 2.5.
Parfait. Merci.
Thank you. So the first one to take note is Omnivoile. They asked $5,000 this year. For 2006, we suggest 3,500 because in 2025 they received 3,000. Next one that's different from the previous years would be the tennis club. This year they asked 5,500, and 2025 they received 5,000, and staff would suggest 3,500. Community gardens. This year in 2025 we give them 10,000. They asked for another 10,000 next year, and we are suggesting 7,000. If I might add, the reasons for bringing it down is they had more applications this year. We're trying to divide the amounts up based on the descriptions and the requests. Your Worship, do we want to go to questions? No, close. Your table it's not a long table. It's not like all the details in the budget. The Apasoa Trails was 5,000 that they received this year, and they were asking for 5,000 next year, and we're suggesting 3,500. Shediac Filipino Community Organization, 5,000 received this year. They're asking for 7,000 in 2026, and we're suggesting 3,500. And the Courage Center, they're nothing this year. They asked for 15,000, 2,200 next year, and we're suggesting that amount. And they received 1,500. They received 2,000 this year, and we're suggesting continue with the 1,500. ATV Country Wheelers, nothing this year. They're asking $4,000 for 2026, and we're suggesting 3,000. And Shediac Pickleball, they're asking for 5,000. We're suggesting 3,500, and they received no grants in 2025. And is there a reserve or that's amount that's unspent of $10,000 that we need to keep in reserve? Because I must admit that we still receiving applications. The deadline was in September, and we're still receiving some every day. So that $10,000 would either be in reserve or to be reallocated within that. And we might receive other requests in April. Normally, in this type of context, they'd be part of a special project, actually, if the amount is unavailable. If it's a donation for $250, for example. Councillor Janice Cormier, I think that you've confirmed my first question. All of these grants are requested annually by those organizations. Yes. The community director, it was announced that nonprofit organizations could submit an application. It's a Google form that they filled in. Some organizations sent us letters. It comes in all sorts of forms. I'm not sure if you remember the date. It was sometime in September. Start of September. The second question, I know that these are not big amounts. When we see tennis club, for this amount, and we give a grant of 3,500. We see pickleball, and there's a $3,000, $500 this year. There's a way of putting those amounts in the money that we're going to give 105 $5,000 for tennis in addition to instead of doing the grant. There are two different things.
Le terrain de tennis, c'est
The-
le terrain par soi-même.
So the tennis court, they're independent. So
Une certaine programmation.
the grants is for clubs like managing the program. So these are two completely different things. Just to talk about the pickleball club, like they did not receive like grants for, and just trying to make it equal. Well, we try to have not to favor one over the other. Yes, the one might have a reduction, and maybe the other one never got anything, so he had it. So that's why, like the total amount was 5,000, but this year it goes up to 7,000 altogether. Like you see, there's like 12,000 like for 2026. Councillor Lacombe, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two questions. So the first one,
Je veux juste comprendre. Je sais pas.
I just want to understand
Le 15 200 du centre Courage.
the grant for the Courage Center.
Je présume.
Oui.
Is it for something? Yes, sir.
Demande devant moi, mais-
I don't have the request. I can give you. I think it's for dogs, or I'm not sure.
Justice Facility Dogs.
Oui.
Justice Facility Dog. I
Qui
think.
prend sa retraite, là, vous avez tout-
When he's retiring, so you should get.
Ça,
So
ça
what?
qui était la demande pour y donner le
So what was the
permis,
request, and we gave like the full.
Oui, ils ont reçu, on suggère la pleine demande.
So we're suggesting for the full amount. Well, I will give you like the exact amount they're suggesting.
C'était juste l'année dernière. On avait-
Is it only last year, like in 2025, they did not ask for
Non, on avait
money?
pas
No.
de-
But habituellement, on avait toujours une
But
demande.
usually we always had a request, like,
Trois.
contribution.
I think,
Ouais,
yes, we had like a three-part.
c'est correct.
C'est peut-être pas sous les subventions, c'était peut-être payé.
Maybe it's not under like a
pas.
grant, it might be like from another
J'ai
account.
l'impression
But
qu'il y a une année qu'ils n'ont même pas demandé.
there's one year, I don't think they even asked, and I found it like weird, but they did not.
J'arrive à la demande, excuse-moi.
Oh, excuse-moi.
Prends ton temps, on a encore une demi-heure.
Ah
Take your time, still have half an hour.
Je dis ça méchamment, là, vraiment.
No.
Non, j'ai vraiment, c'était rien de.
No, no, it was nothing.
Tu poses ta deuxième question.
Oh, absolument.
Yes, So maybe I could answer and then we can continue.
Ma préoccupation, c'est la recommandation.
So my
du jardin
concern is the
communautaire.
recommendation for the community
5 000
garden,
$7,000.
$7,000, like,
Ça fait 2-3 ans qu'ils sont
been for 2-3 years.
relocalisés.
so they've been relocated.
C'est un engin qui marche très bien.
It's working really well, very almost. There's some classes almost every night for all the citizens who want to learn
Des tomates ou
how to pickle tomatoes or want to how to grow like any like fine herbs, and so they involve students in this.
Comment une greenhouse qui ont
They have a greenhouse like that they started, and now they start to operate in March, April. With the students, it will be like a school program.
Ils vont opérer ça jusqu'au
They will operate this hopefully maybe jusqu'à November. Jesus, I think we should encourage more than giving them 7,000. We should ask the request, because there's hundreds of people like who are involved, and they're getting a lot of money. I think if the town of Shediac, I think we can afford like contribute at least what they're asking for, to increase it like to $10,000. To me, it's a no-brainer. Like,
De ce montant-là, ce qui est la même l'année dernière.
yes, it would be the same, but
Justement, il y a une réserve qui existe. Puis on
there's
peut
a reserve, and then we can modify the amount.
Sur la
So
première.
we'll do a motion later. So
Can
can we do the motion now or
La
later?
première réponse.
Yeah, we have
La
the
première réponse, mais le PDF.
first answer, but the PDF it doesn't work.
En Word, puis c'est en lien.
But there's a letter in Word, and it's a relation with all they describe all their dogs. justice facility dog program, and because the first dog is retiring and they need to have training for the others, but I do not have the detail.
C'est pas moi le conseiller qui va dire non à une demande.
I'm not the counselor who will say no to a request like this one. I would never say no to this one. I just wanted to understand that request. Give me an error when I'm trying to open the PDF, but.
So, s'il n'y a pas d'autres questions, mais il y a comme.
There's no other question.
S'il y a quelqu'un qui voudrait voir une modification.
Anyone who would like to see a modification would like to know, like, because we could make those changes.
Mais je sais pas, c'est pas pour des instructions.
C'est ça que je consultais.
Yeah, see, that's what he was consulting.
En termes, une modification, c'est un amendement.
A modification is an amendment.
De manière que je le vois.
That's the way I see it.
Un amendement serait proposé lorsqu'on fait
I would like them to be proposed like when we adopt the budget and not when we discuss it.
Une fois qu'on aura fini de discuter,
so once we're done discussing, then we'll be able to decide which tweet we're going to make.
Dans toutes les notions qu'on a présentement.
All the what we.
Okay. Un grand détail, je crois.
Si, yes. Je pense que au fond, c'est ce qu'on a au niveau du budget ici, c'est les alimentations de l'unité.
Ouais.
Mais aussi, au niveau du fonctionnement, c'est le budget.
Ouais. Parce que je trouve que ça, c'est là que je le vois. Ça fait même si c'est pas une obligation. All right, merci.
Yes.
Sur moi j'ai une question.
I have a question, but
que le jardin communautaire mérite,
that the community deserve or not deserve. That's not I want to talk, but maybe last year, maybe it's just my memory.
Il y avait un montant
there was an amount like there was part of the 10,000 that was for the construction of this greenhouse. Or was there an additional amount that was only for that one? That's what I can't remember. Irrigation system, so that's why they were asking for more. I cannot remember. So the grant that was given during the budget process last year was the same as the one this year, but the group came back to the council during spring to ask for an additional grant to bring them like to the original amount, and that was treated within the reserve fund. So that's why we have recommendation is the same as last year. So the request came in like was an additional request, and at the time the council did not look if it should be like a long-term grant or they wanted to solve to process it here. It was the same as last year when the council decided they would discuss it here to see if it would be increasing or not. And that's what we decided. We had decided to bring it during the budget process. So that's where we're at. Thank you. Thanks for the clarification. Sometimes there's too much information. My Councilor Paul Boudreau, yes, just I saw there was an item like
Digo conservation.
Digo conservation. We had 10,000. Was there an update? What did they do with this money? Like disc golf. Was it done? And they're asking for another 3,700. Just to be curious. Anyone who can answer me?
J'ai pas plus d'informations, mais je pense
No, I don't have
c'est-
more information, but
première année, c'était de préparer le
the first
terrain,
year was to prepare like
faire
the site
planification
and
du
then
terrain,
to
les
plan like the sites and cut the trees. Was it done or to see? I know it's not a big amount, like
J'assume que oui, parce que
3,007.
la
I presume yes,
recommandation de
because
donner une somme supplémentaire.
we wouldn't have made a recommendation to give an additional amount like me.
Puis l'autre,
And the other one,
culturel, il y avait
the cultural policy, I know there's a committee.
Germaine sur ça, je crois que c'est l'autre qui est sur le comité là.
Germaine is on this one.
Sylvie.
Sylvie,
C'est partie de ceci où il y a
is it part of this or
Autre enveloppe.
it's another envelope for
Il y a une
for
autre
that
enveloppe
one?
pour la politique culturelle.
There's another envelope for the cultural policy.
montant-là. Ah, OK. Si vous êtes content avec le montant que
If you're happy with this amount to
Le
the
montant est
cultural
similaire,
policy,
on n'a pas fait aucune
it's a similar amount, so we did not make any increase or reduction. Thank you.
C'est bon.
On est correct? OK,
So
donc,
you're
on peut
okay.
passer au document 2.6.
Now,
pour le
2.6 for the sponsorship.
Puis ici, on a le
And
premier
here
document,
we
ça,
have
c'est
the first house,
ça,
Heart
c'est
Heroes.
donc,
So it's every 2 years.
qui revient cette
So it's
année.
1,500 that's coming back this year.
On a aussi l'équipe
And
de
we also have
football
like the
qui
football
a-
team,
ils ont demandé
LJR, $10,000. We recommend 2,000. This year we got 1,000.
OK.
On les traite similaires à tous les autres sports.
Yeah, we treat them similar to the other sports.
Puis le barbecue MFB.
And the barbecue MFB, they were asking 5,000. The last one, we put it zero is because they're receiving like already getting a grant, like for part of the grants for 2.5. So you receive the grant as the other schools, $5,000.
Au lieu de contribuer à la journée du barbecue,
Instead of contributing during barbecue day, it's the $5,000 like the Shediac Cape School and the other school. And the other, my table is not very pretty, but everything that says the Chamber of Commerce or the amount 2020, they're the same. So the Chamber of Commerce, downtown, and I choose Shediac. So these are the same amount that we're asking 2026 like they got in 2025.
Qu'est-ce qui était organisme sport mineur?
What's the minor sports organization they did not ask this year? If these are the grants for the $50, like for the youth.
OK.
C'est pas les demandes viennent juste après.
Ah,
Yeah,
C'est
the request coming after is the amount we give, like if you're registered in a sport
un organisme
or an organization, that's a grant we give.
ouais. Merci.
Comme là, reste pareil.
Je pensais que c'était un drôle de nom.
C'est the same. I thought it was a weird name.
Parfait. Conseiller Janice Cormier.
Councillor Janice Comey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Les commandites, c'est encore.
So the sponsorship, is it, so they do present annual requests.
Annuel, OK. Il y a 3 demandes là que.
There's 3 requests here.
Demande de festival de Hallmark.
The request for Hallmark,
1000.
50,000. Lobster Festival, 78,000.
45,000.
Chamber of Commerce, 45,000.
Ça me surprend ces montants-là qui viennent.
I'm surprised at these amounts, like they don't make any presentation with those requests. And I choose Shediac and downtown, they come and do a presentation. I have a bit of a hard time to give amounts with them. I'm not sure what I approve because they did not make any presentation. I think it would be important, downtown Shediac, for the BI, they have to come in, like a Chamber of Commerce, 45,000 now. 35,000 in the Omar Festival. Well, a dome for 5 days, like 50,000. Like we have a multi-purpose center. So what is the change?
Je comprends ça. Je comprends ta question.
I understand this, but I understand your question. But the council, it goes back to the pandemic. We could not have anyone here, but after that, the council wanted like to, because out of 5 days of the budget, we spent like 3 days meeting people. A lot of our time to to talk very little about our budget. So we wanted to change it to take most of the time to talk about the big numbers.
Avec le plan quinquennal, avec tout ça.
With the 5-year plan, now we have the big numbers.
On n'avait pas.
And when we didn't have big numbers, we never came back, went back.
On pourrait peut-être bien dire, regarde,
we could say maybe
ou une commandite au-delà
a sponsorship or a donation like above this a certain amount. We would like to see you come for a presentation.
C'est quand même 205 000. Je sais pas la grosseur jambe, mais c'est
I think for next year it's 205. I know it's all like small money that we could spend, like save. I think every year if we're comfortable, like to do things, and we don't know why, like when 80,000, 45, these are small amounts because we're looking at millions, but next year maybe above a certain amount, we would need something so we can validate like we are.
Au moins, c'est, au-delà de 40 000.
If it's above like 40,000 at least, they can come in. They can come like in September. Before, like we really start the budget discussion, it's just to better understand what's working and what to do with those donations. It's not necessarily our sponsorship, and it's not their sole source of revenue. At least it gives them a better understanding if we can align even more well. So like we'll have budget discussion like Monday and we do the same year. I think it would be important because we're kind of voting blindly on this amount. If the council wants to adopt this, we didn't want to open the door to everyone because it would lead would be another kettle of fish, and if would be a threshold like maybe 25, 30,000. Let's say that you need to make a presentation. Definitely, that's something we can make those adjustments. Let us come back like for next year, and we'll say like any amount grant above a certain amount. Like we can have a practice like this one. Maybe the next council, well, they will decide. I think for the domes, like there was a tent, but the plan was a dome instead of the tent. We'll see the difference next year, but they really like the experience. So it seems to be more like interest. Like people were having they had the activities at the center, so they would have like a choice of two locations.
Ça a mieux fonctionné.
I think it worked better, and Mother Nature but limit our citizens who could attend those events, because if it's a community festival, they would need. It was a bigger space, but cost more. It's good for the atmosphere, but it gave some limitation compared whether the street was slow. I'm not saying like the dome, but I think we limited the participation of our citizens for a community festival, and when we invest in big money like that, it should be open to everyone. Just my 2 cents. Next one, Patricio Bourg-Chevalier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I choose Chediac. Is it part of the Chamber of Commerce? Is it part of our budgets, or it's an initiative from the Chamber of Commerce? Like we are funding it. So the 28,000 goes with the 45,000. So it's part of the same letters. Thank you. Councillor Roland-Cormier. I'm sharing like the concern of Councillor Cormier. But sometimes yeah, we can agree. And just a question of clarification. So the contribution for the Lobster Festival next year was 78,000. 75 plus HST. I'm a guy who likes numbers. Maybe it's my age, or it was an additional request, so because they wanted to add the tent to the activity.
Ils veulent évidemment recréer ça parce que si je me trompe pas, le Homard va être.
If I don't mistaking, the Omar would be the activity for Events Atlantic.
Une délégation qui va.
We'll have a delegation that will hold a conference, and they will use the multipurpose center to have conferences.
Partager cette année notre équipe ou l'équipe de Omar, c'est
for the Omar team is presented in Truro because
Events Atlantic pour voir comment la conférence va avoir lieu.
To see like when the conference will, and
on va avoir des délégations par la grandeur des.
We'll have some delegations throughout the province.
C'est pour ça qu'on recommande.
That's why we recommend like to do it again. But long term, like with the suggestion to debate, to explain why, like so when the council makes a decision, it's an excellent recommendation.
De mémoire, je pensais que le but de ce festival-là.
I thought the goal for this festival was for our community. Absolutely. Now you're explaining it's our community plus Atlantic Canada. So maybe it would be a good idea. It would be an opportunity, but it brings a conference here, like during that will open. But the goal of the festival, so the goal, so when they organized that festival was to have an activity after once the school started, after September, an activity. Myself, I participated a few years. That would be outside. That would be good. If Mother Nature does not cooperate, it's part of life. Like the Lobster Festival is the same. Like Mother Nature. Mother Nature is Mother Nature.
À mon opinion, c'est plus important.
In my opinion, it's more important, like to have those locals, and I'm talking about the citizens of this region to appreciate what's happening there, than having a dome, a tent, or an infrastructure, and that will limit the individuals. First come, first serve, and the others cannot even come in. I think the concept to organize an activity like this one, and the local individuals cannot participate, I think they're missing out. They're missing out. They're missing the mission I thought they have. And maybe you could clarify this. Maybe I could clarify for the dome, like.
Des problèmes logistiques comme avec le son.
There was some logistic problem with the center and the Hotel Shediac also, like for the show that was held outside. So they need to find another location, and the tent, and they were supposed to have a dome with lights. They had to do it in a tent, and next year, like the dome that was supposed to come, it will be there next year. Is it no? That dome, we did not purchase it. No, we did.
Ça va être plus gros, Jonathan?
Jonathan, will it be bigger, or it's a matter of capacity, like for Art Love, it's more capacity and more people, like when they were outside the center, maybe like for the concert. So because it did not work.
Parce que à l'hôtel Shediac à l'extérieur.
So yes, for the outside, the Shediac, the atmosphere was good. Like that's what they wanted to do. It might not be able, like.
Le partenaire a changé.
So the partnership changed.
Conseiller Paul Boudreau.
Councillor Paul Boudreau. I'm about 200 meters from the Omar Festival. They were discouraged this year because it was limited. The idea might be good to have the dome, but people were. They were discouraged. It was limited in the tent, and you would arrive sold out, and
exactement ça que Roland dit. C'est un
So
festival.
that's what that festival was open, but I will leave it in the hand. For the Chamber of Commerce, like the numbers that were there for the concerts around the table. So the activity, I was saying, so the amounts, like the activities happening for the golf tournament. And I thank you very much. Like the most thing, if it was 45,000, it was those activities and the member recruitment, like with the Marie-Claude. And I like recommendation, Janice.
La Chambre de commerce, la directrice vient ici pour expliquer. Moi, je suis au courant
So I'm aware of those expenses.
Stratégie pour 2026. Donc, c'est à peu près ça les montants qu'ils ont demandé pour.
So these are the amount, like.
C'était tout pour les deux items-là.
So that's all for those two items.
Conseillère Patricia Beauchevalier?
Juste une petite note. C'est-tu les mêmes montants que l'année
Just, is it the same amount as this year? Because there's nothing.
C'est bon, merci.
Parfait. So ça fait la fin de nos des
But this ends like the new things that were there.
Que je vois pas bien. Sounds good.
Puis moi, c'est la fin de toute la documentation.
So this is the end of the documentations I had.
Mon parcours se termine ici.
So my journey ends here.
No.
Here, no, you're staying. Councillor Janice Cormier. It's not a question. Like I would like to move the adjournment of the meeting. I think we had a lot of information that we would need to digest, and I think 6 should be pushed to the next meeting. We had good discussion, but I think we need a little bit time to digest all this information before we vote.
Pour proposer un ajournement, ça prend.
So we need only one person to move the adjournment, even if we're not at the end.
Monsieur DG?
Yeah, Mr. ICO.
Évidemment, on fait passer
Of course,
est-ce que vous aimeriez voir
would you like to see this item on the agenda of the regular meeting
le 12 de novembre?
or on November 12th, having a meeting?
Je pose juste la question.
I'm just asking the question. I suggested 12 because some document I want to see before I vote on the 12th. If you can have them before, I would be ready, like to give you a little bit more runaway.
Ça ferait du bien qu'on adopte.
Would be nice to adopt the budget, like during a budget night. That's the only thing. Would give us a chance, like to encourage discussion. If it's an item like that with no discussion, we had a lot of explanation from the finance director. Would make more sense. Councillor Patricia Beauchevalier. Like the last meeting was quite short. So it depends if it's a regular. Depends what's on the agenda. Do we have a lot of work to do next meeting? It's not that bad so far. If it's a 45 minutes meeting or 1 hour, we might be able to do it like the same evening, but it's as you wish, really. Because I'm not available on the 12th. Oh, okay. She's off mic. Yeah, the 3rd might be a little bit too early. We could always add it, like if we do not have this information, we can table. Is it something we can do at 7 o'clock?
OK. Donc, nous sommes ajournés. Merci beaucoup.
We're standing adjourned. So thank you very much and have a good